Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. And welcome to my YouTube family. Happy birthday to me. I just thought that on the spot. Hello, I am Xanthi, the feral academic, where we're honest, feral, and anti-bullshit. Today is very special because I am doing an Ask Me Anything. I'm uploading this on my actual birthday. I got my birthday sash. It's my birthday. I was going to wear a pretty dress, but you know what? I have so much work to do after this, such as the life of a PhD student. So I was like, this is what I'm wearing right now. I'm cozy. I just want to do something real quick. Thank you to everyone who asked me all these questions. It covers personal relationship questions, academia, astrology, horror, film. Since it's my birthday, we're going to try something different where I talk in a British accent. I will say that I'm not an expert, okay? This is just for entertainment's sake. Our first question today is leading into the PhD. It's by Heise Neemans. I hope I pronounced that properly. How did you come to choose a PhD on this subject? And why this subject specifically? Also, this covers Adithyanik, 7062. I am so sorry. I'm sure I butchered your name. Why did you decide to study in the UK instead of America? So this covers both of your questions. My research topic is children's opinions of horror films and children who make horror films. I am a huge horror fan. Like, horror is my life. This subject chose me rather than me choosing it. I have a niece who I really love to share horror with her, and she was 12 years old. We had decided to do a podcast together called Kindergeist. Our first episode was titled, Is Horror Appropriate for Kids? That made me think. I was very much interested in these opinions that children had around horror because it was not aligning with the assumptions that adults were having for the children. Children love horror, but some of them love gore, and most of them prefer horror that's rated 18, or in the US it would be rated R. And I ended up in the UK because my supervisor, my primary, Kat Lester, well, she has a book about children's horror films, which I would really recommend. And hence, that's what brought me to the UK. How do you work on your PhD? Not necessarily time schedule, more like methods. Right, so you're asking about my methodology and my research style. I am a practice-based researcher, so that means 30,000 words as well as a 1-hour documentary. In my paper, I focus a lot on literature review and also the results of my interviews with children. It's very qualitative, children between the ages of 9 through 15. My documentary is about the behind the scenes of children or teenagers or youth making their own horror film. I'm trying to honor the agency of young people to give them a voice. What are the things that you've learned before your PhD that turned out to be much more important than you thought? For a long time, I thought that my administrative service in the Air Force was going to be not as useful as I was hoping. However, it ended up being the most greatest foundation I could have had. It taught me discipline. It taught me how to have a job every day, cope with hierarchy and mental health challenges. I believe my extensive administrative experience landed me my first important internship, which was at HBO. And that's the thing that you have to remember. What you are doing at this time may not feel purposeful, but really everything is shaping you to be wherever your future ends up. On the opposite hand, what did you think was important but wasn't, and things that you believed were unimportant but actually were? Hands down, people's opinions and expectations of me, telling me what I should do with my career or what the right path was for it, even when people mean well because they think they know better than you, and maybe they do. However, it doesn't mean that that's the route that you should take. People will often project their own dreams onto you or their fears onto you, even when you are doing amazingly brave or different. That can be triggering for a lot of people because they don't have the confidence to even pursue what they love. This is how we see a lot of internalized racism or internalized homophobia. I do value mentorship and advice, but there comes a certain point where you already know what you want to do or what decision you're going to make, and you're asking advice simply as validation. And that is a waste of time. And things that I believed were unimportant but actually were: rest. That is something I'm still trying to learn how to prioritize, because when you're someone like me that likes to have so many projects, is so very ADHD for real, I don't need to take a vacation. I'm enjoying everything that I'm doing, which can be true. However, your body is having a different conversation and you're not listening to it. Make sure you're getting mental and physical rest. Boredom is actually quite beneficial because it gives you space to imagine, to dream, to think of ideas that you would never think of if your brain was just constantly on the go. Completely new concepts that you got to familiarize yourself when it comes to work ethic. Working independently in the PhD. I am a person that thrives on deadlines and structures, and the PhD was and continues to be a challenge because you're completely on your own devices. For example, I will sit down at my desk and start working, but I don't know exactly where I'm leading to short term, how many words, how many pages, and so I feel a bit lost and end up sitting down and watching Bridgerton. I have been resting upon people who support me. In that case, my supervisor, I will specifically request, can you give me a certain amount of words or something, a task that I need to lead up to before our next meeting? I would constantly have my ADHD coach help me figure out what are some realistic tasks of the day so I'm not overscheduling myself. You do not have to form just because it works for everyone else. No, you can mold it to be your own, even if you have to create it from scratch. What are some really cool things you've learned in relation to your research subject? The biggest thing that I've been learning through my research topic of children and horror is it's more like validated what I already knew, in that teenagers and children are the coolest humans in the world. Learning about their preferences in horror, what's important to them, it's always so wonderful to see how their minds work. They're so unlimited compared to adults, where we have grown weary of the expectations of society and each other. The future of horror is in great hands. I think I'm going to switch over to my American accent now because it actually makes my nose hurt. Thinking about the way that American English is spoken versus British English, it seems like it's happening a lot here when you speak in British English. But American English is like, it comes out a different way in the throat. You share a lot of your perspectives on the challenges of a PhD and the personal life part of things without really talking about what happened to you. The first one is the challenges that people face when trying to have a relationship with you. Okay, you're trying to get the tea now. The challenges that people face when they try to have a relationship with me, not necessarily romantic. The biggest one is time, especially with family and friends. There's this unspoken obligation of having to reconnect with like everybody. And that's not realistic, right? Because when I go home, I am exhausted from working on the PhD every day of my life that I've been here in the UK. When I go home, the first thing I do is like have Popeyes, American Popeyes. So different from the UK Popeyes. I am still working on the PhD long distance, and my time and energy is so valuable. And I talked about this in other videos as well. It's like boundaries. Learn to set boundaries with others and learn to set boundaries with yourself. You don't want the people you love to feel like you're ignoring them or they're not important to you. However, you will not feel good if you don't have the energy to see people and you're doing it just for the sake of them. That's not being honest with them. That's not being respectful to them, because setting boundaries shows respect for them and for you. Filipinos are very like, family is so important. And family is important, but you know what else is important? Your mental health. With dating, the same in a different way. I have seen people who have struggled with my schedule. I remember during my master's, I went on speed dating because my friend, to be honest, I was not into the idea of speed dating, but I am definitely somebody that likes adventure and doing it for the plot. I ended up connecting with a few people afterward. And one of the guys I was talking to, very nice. I was so unavailable genuinely doing film school that he was actually quite mature about it, because this is actually rare. He already came with such development of emotional intelligence, because instead of him like constantly grasping for my attention, which would have been annoying to me, he messaged me and was like, hey, I think you're cool, but I can tell you're really not available. Is it cool if we just like call it? And I was like, that was very mature. We didn't keep in touch because, I mean, why would we, you know? And that's another thing, is like, just because you went on a few dates with someone doesn't mean you need to be friends afterwards. Again, it came with respect for me and it came with respect for him. But not everyone's like that. The majority, sadly, are very not in touch with their emotions. More recently, I feel like most people have been understanding because I'm better at communicating what I expect. That's a little complex too, because a lot of the time people don't know what they want, but they think they do. But they haven't done like the inner work and reflection to really know deep down what they really want. Not just men, like people. They're not really looking in the mirror. Dating a PhD student is hard. I don't think I could date a PhD student. So I'm not exactly pitching myself very well. You need to be very understanding and patient, communicative about what your needs are too. I'm not saying that it's impossible. There are plenty of people that I know who had successful relationships, even PhD to PhD relationships, and they ended up getting married. Nothing is impossible. It's like military relationships are obviously going to be harder, more complex. I'm not perfect, you know, I have my own baggage. The challenges I face when I'm trying to have a relationship with other people. The biggest challenge that I face is emotional safety. Most of the people that I've been seeing have been long distance. Apparently, I like to torture myself. I probably have a little bit of avoidant issues that I'm working through right now. I'm going to therapy, so I'm responsible, okay? I've had some past trauma in relationships, was emotionally abused. It's weird because, have you heard of the 19 theory? Is that what it's called? Where the person that you date at 19 is going to be the worst man in the world. I was like, what the heck? When that's too real. One of them ghosted me. A lot of people that I saw in my 20s were a mess, like a hot mess, not just a mess, but a piping hot mess. Again, the biggest issue I have is meeting someone who is able to hold space for me in that way. I need to feel in a space of being emotionally safe where I can trust someone. And if they are inconsistent, if they are not communicative, yada, 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 it's very hard. Circling back to therapy, there's a difference between going to therapy because you're going there blindly, or you're going to therapy and actually looking deep inside to the ugly parts of yourself that you're uncomfortable with. Because I was single for a long time before the next partner I was with. I realized looking back that I went to therapy, but I was not looking at myself, because I would show up to therapy, think like just being like, so I'm going to place all of the work on this therapist and expect them to tell me what's wrong with me, which is not the thing to do, because only you know what's going on with you and what hurts. That's the hardest part about therapy. But once you look into there and you start evolving as a person that becomes more self-aware, it's like night and day. Therapy is like so important. And I don't just mean romantic. Like, there's a lot of us that have mommy issues, daddy issues, family issues. Therapy can do so much if it's the right therapist. Finding the right therapist is like dating, because I've had so many therapists that I was just like, no. There was one time I had a therapist, all she did was complain about her life. And I was like, what? I told her in email, I was like, this isn't working for me. Thank you. That therapist needed her own therapist. I hope that answered the question. At the heart of it, all of us as people, we just want the same thing. We want someone who is kind, patient, independent, and healing their own trauma. Now we've moved on to HIN the night, or HIN the night. What are your future plans for career? I won't give away everything, because sometimes dreams are needing to be held privately before you let them out. My other plans involve making this channel, this YouTube channel. I hope it can sustain me financially in the near future, trying to hit those view requirements before I become eligible for monetization. I enjoy talking here so much. The greatest thing for me is like when I open up a comment and someone's like, oh my God, like, I'm so glad you said that because I was feeling that way. Or just sharing like a huge part of their story. The one person that is dealing with war in their country, I was like, that's amazing that like I'm just a stranger on the internet, but like we're able to communicate on such a deeper level that we typically wouldn't be able to do, like with people face to face. Of course, there's trolls, there's people who are very mean online because they're hiding behind an avatar. But on the flip side, sometimes being behind an avatar gives you the opportunity to share something that's deep in your chest and you feel alone, and then you can share it into the world and connect with others who will be like, hey, you're not alone and you matter. So I find that the most beautiful thing about this channel and YouTube. The main goal right now is to finish my PhD, continue my podcasts, like I have the Kindergeist podcast and the Final Girlfriend podcast, both of them on Spotify if you'd like to listen. If you're a horror fan. Kindergeist I talked about. It's like children in horror. Final Girlfriend is my friend and I, Colin, watching horror romance films and unpacking like the real life dating issues, relationship issues that come up during those films. And then of course, my main love is film directing. Again, another thing that I hope to sustain myself, then continuing my research, advocating for youth filmmakers and youth who love horror. There's other dreams, but I will keep that to myself for now, because they haven't hatched. Do you like zombie movies? Yes, I love zombie movies. So I'm going to choose this controversial opinion. I love the Disney Zombies franchise. Still counts. They're zombies. There's 4 Disney Zombies movies and a 5th one coming. It's a rom-zom musical. So it's like a love story musical with zombies. It's like, that's insane. That's an insane multi-genre mashup. I don't care what everyone says. I don't care that it's targeted to kids. The music is good. The acting is good. And I like it. It's feel good. It's actually my dream to direct a Disney zombies movie. Milo Manheim and Meg Donnelly are the leads in the first three. And then the fourth one kind of branches out to new characters. What could go so wrong with a girl and a zombie? Did you find your soulmate? We have more than one soulmate. I don't think necessarily that soulmates are the love of your life. They can be friends, family, animals, somebody who gets you on such a deep level that's inexplainable. Unexplainable? Guessing you meant more in the romantic sense. In that case, no. I don't know if I buy the term in itself because, yeah, even using this word soul mate, it's like the mate of your soul. What is your height? I want to know in the comments. Tell me how tall you think I am. What kind of energy do I bring? I will say that I'm tall enough to ride most rides, but not tall enough to be a runway model. What height do you prefer in men? I feel like I should delete this. I want to know about what women think about height. First of all, don't be embarrassed to ask because this is really a big topic. I know it's a huge issue when it comes to dating. Yes, you will find that a lot of women are like, oh my gosh, he has to be tall, dark, and handsome. Not everyone feels like that. I would say people who are actually more grounded in what they're searching for versus exterior qualities. Like, for example, my mom dated a guy in her past that she said he was really tall, maybe 6'5" or something. And she said she didn't like it because she constantly had to my crown. She constantly had to look up and it hurt her neck. Tell him to have a seat. Do I think it's toxic for people to say only 6 feet and up on their dating profiles? Yes. Do I think it's toxic to have a preference? No. I have been with both short legends and tall legends, and it's like someone who carries themselves with confidence. That's the most attractive quality over what any measurement would say. And I mean measurement in every sense of the word. Emotionally mature people will base it on how you make them feel, how much they care about you as a person. That's the thing I would say. But again, I will reiterate that confidence is attractive on anybody. Stereotypes of beauty or all genders, like, oh, why is she with this guy? She's like so much better looking. Well, who says she doesn't find him attractive or that's not exactly what she prioritizes? One of my relatives, she does not care about physical attractiveness in that way. She was with her husband for years and years and years before he passed away. And she was like, I don't care like how he looks. He better be freaking smart because that's what I find very attractive. As long as you work on yourself and you learn to be happy with yourself, I feel like that will attract the right person towards you. Real Steel Cinema asked, favorite original film score? This is so difficult. I have been listening to film scores ever since I was a child. I grew up really loving Amelie, the Jan Tiersen stuff. Gretel and Hansel by Rob, La La Land, Henry Mancini, the collection of like all those older films. I listen to film scores when I'm screenwriting, when I'm writing, chilling. But to choose one is so hard. The Come True score is really great too. I can't decide. Opinion on the Cenobites. Hi, Ria. I made a music video during my undergrad that was inspired by the Cenobites. Actually, it's here on YouTube. I built this whole lore around it, inspired by the Cenobites, and except this one was less dark because the band wanted something hopeful and about like Mother Nature. And Chatterbox gave me nightmares as a kid. I dreamt about him a lot, even though I hadn't seen the movie at the time when I was a kid. But I find the idea of them so brilliant. We love Cenobites. Nachos versus Fries by David For You 90. Is that a reference to Nathan For You? Because I love Nathan For You. I love movie theater nachos with the 3 dips, with the salsa, the guac, and the cheese, that shitty cheese. But I also love fries. I love fries. I'm a pommes girl. German fries. Chef's kiss. Skinny fries, steak fries, waffle fries, sweet potato fries, but my favorite of all time is truffle fries. If there's truffle on the menu, that is what I'm getting. Truffle burger, done. Truffle steak, done. Truffle ice cream, done. Truffle candy, done. Do you believe in astrology? By Travels with Brindle / Chelsea. If you asked me this a couple of years ago, I would have said, but nowadays, my relationship and understanding of astrology has evolved, and especially with tarot. And they're not the same thing. A lot of people use them interchangeably, but they're not the same thing. I just find them to be like a different kind of guidance that is a little more difficult to explain than most of us are used to. Like this post I found, I thought it was so real. It explains my thoughts on it. One of my friends is an astrologer, and she did my birth chart reading about my past life. There's things that we carry in our bodies, whether that's ancestral or with like these ideas of past life. All of it just makes you more self-aware, or at least forces you to pause. That's what one of my really good friends said. It does not predict things. It does not give you like clear answers, but it does force you to pause and reflect within yourself. And that's what I find so valuable, as long as you're open to it. If you're not open to it, then you're wasting like your energy and your time. But you also have to be careful. There's scammers out there, etc. All right. Last one is Raphael. Hello, Raphael, my family member. He said, happy early birthday, no question. Thank you. A perfect one to end on. I love you guys. Thank you for celebrating my birthday with me on YouTube here with all these beautiful questions. I hope they were helpful to all of you, or at least entertaining. I am a very proud Aries. You wouldn't really know if you met me in person. I'm quite internal. Thank you for being here. If this is your first time, welcome. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit like on that thumbs up. Feel free to ask me any questions in the future and comments about academia, horror. I noticed that you guys voted mental health as the only thing that out of the options that you really wanted to hear about. So I'm mixing it up. I hope you have a great day and it feels like your birthday as it is much as mine. See you in the next video. Xanthi out.